anyone using the Circulator Energy Savings Calculator, it's a good idea to start on the README tab, which I have open here. So there's two tabs, the README tab and the Circulator Savings tab. The README tab has a lot of good information about how the calculator works, the underpinning data, where it's coming from, and how that calculation methodologies are sourced and proven. The Circulator Savings Calculator, its real purpose is to support uniform savings calculations based on the HI energy rating label, or if you don't have a label, it can calculate savings based on the size of the circulator and its controls based on what's available in the HI energy rating database. So since the energy rating is a primary data source for the calculator, let's just really quickly review on the right-hand side some of the important items from the label that are going to be used. So the calculator is going to ask for the weighted average input power, which is on the top right-hand side of the label. It's going to ask for the circulator energy index, or the CEI, again, which is in the black bar. It's going to ask for the energy rating, which could be a single rating or a range, a high and a low range. So if you have a label, it's going to ask for those. If you don't have a label, it's going to ask for the horsepower of the circulator. So you need to know, a little something about how the circulators are rated horsepower wise. And it's going to ask you for the onboard controls. So you can select one of the controls, which again is circled there in red. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the Circulator Savings Calculator and click on the Circulator Savings tab, which I've just done. If you're using the calculator and you find yourself on this tab, there are also relevant instructions over here on the right-hand side for quick reference on some of the assumptions and data underpinning it, but also how to use the calculator. The first time you use this calculator, the first time you download it, you may get a button that says Enable Content, and you'll have to click the Enable Content button, which essentially enables macros that are within this calculator. So that button would be at the top of the Circulator calculator. Following that, you can click the Update Calculator Information. And what that does is it then connects this calculator with the energy rating database, and it pulls in the most up-to-date energy rating information. So if you want to do calculations without having an energy rating label in front of you, it has the most up-to-date information on efficient circulators that are available. Now, you can also do calculations without being connected to the internet. It's just going to use data that was embedded when it was downloaded or the last time you connected it to the database. Now, as far as doing calculations, it's fairly simple. Cells in yellow are going to require data. Gray cells are not going to require data. And blue cells are going to be optional. Additionally, when you're looking at the calculator, if there is a red triangle in any of the cells, you can hover over it and it will provide additional information about that cell and what it means. In this case, I'm going to say we don't have an energy rating label. I'm going to pick the application as domestic hot water, the sector as residential. Here, I'll pick the motor horsepower, 1/30th to 1/6. Something I'll point out is the default values that were entered for this, since it was domestic hot water. You'll notice that they're much higher, okay? Because default, a domestic hot water pump will just kind of circulate, right? So I wouldn't update those unless we know the baseline condition for a domestic hot water circulator is above or below that value. Because when we pick some run hour controls, they're going to calculate a lower run hours than the default. So what we see here for the domestic, hot water run hour controls, it can be timer or learning, temperature, timer and temperature, or on demand. And there's values that were developed by the Regional Technical Forum in the Pacific Northwest that underpins this. So I'll pick timer and temperature. We can then also pick the fuel type for our hot water. Okay, so if we have an electric resistance hot water heater, that informs the value. And again, we can, down here, I'm going to leave the operating hours alone because this would just change the default value, which I'm not interested in doing here. And then we can either manually put in the dollars per kilowatt hour or the dollars per therm if we were using natural gas. I'll pick a state here again instead, California, and then the differential cost for the circulator with all the controls. Let's say it's $300 additional. It goes ahead and it shows you the pump savings based on the efficient circulator and the controls, and then the savings inclusive of the domestic hot water. So the simple payback inclusive of the domestic hot water savings, again, is less than a year for this example, okay? Now, if you're using this as a tool, you can print this page, but you'll just need to adjust the printer settings to print the entire selection or the entire page and fit it to one page. That concludes the demo of the calculator.